been so excited for a game, they had to find every piece of content you could find about it before the release. That was me when Little Nightmares 2 was announced at Gamescom 2019. And now, 2 years later, Little Nightmares 2 has been released, and my god, I was not disappointed. Game sequels usually go in two directions. The first, where a game is rushed and is mediocre or worse, or is well received, adding new and fun features while still having reasons to play the original. However, sometimes a game can completely outshine the original, improving every single part of the past game and giving a little reason to play the original. Apart from, story and achievements. And let me tell you, the Little Nightmares 2 does that really well. Let's start with a simple explanation of each mission. Before getting into the chapters, I cannot emphasize enough that you should just skip to the next half of this video. I will leave a timestamp on the screen, I can't speak, because this section here is going to be all spoilers, and I cannot emphasize enough that you should definitely play this game before watching the spoiler segment, because I go through every mission, and it's probably my favourite game of all time, so I think you should definitely play it, and not knowing anything about the game would be such a great experience before playing it. Anyway, let's get into the chapters. A boy named Mono wakes up next to a TV after a nightmare of him approaching a door. He makes his way through the forest, avoiding traps until he finds Six, who was in the first game. They eventually befriend each other and head through the Hunter's shack. Eventually, they encounter the residents of the shack, named the Hunter. He slumbers through the forest with a shotgun in hand and a flashlight in the other. He chases after the duo until he meets his demise with a taste of his own medicine. After drifting over an ocean and entering the Pale City, the duo finds out that everyone in the city has disappeared, leaving only their clothes behind. They find out Mono is drawn to the TVs and can enter through them and head to a door just like the one in his nightmare. However, he is dragged out before he can get to the door, probably by Six. The duo enter the next hideous location, the school. In the school, Six gets taken away by the bullies, with Mono left to find her. Soon, Mono encounters the creepy, sadistic teacher, who has an unusual ability to elongate her neck as much as she wants. Eventually, Mono finds Six and leaves the school, but not without a creepy scene with the teacher extending her neck through a vent. And after leaving the school, Six finds that all too iconic raincoat. Next, Mono and Six enter the creepy but interesting hospital. Firstly, Mono gets drawn to another TV where the same thing happens as before, but he gets closer to the door before Six pulls him out. Then Mono gets separated from Six again, and he fights off a severed hand with a hammer. After that, Mono has to keep the terrifying mannequins at bay, which move unless under the light. Knowing this, Mono uses a torch to keep himself safe. After the mannequin segment, the duo get reunited and encounter the roof-dwelling doctor. After hiding out of sight of his watchful gaze, a segment ensues where the doctor tries to crush you with falling beds and shelves. Eventually, you lure him into a furnace and kindly burn him alive, where Six warms herself with the ashes of his body, which is all nice, nothing wrong with Six, no foreshadowing there at all. After heading up an elevator, you enter, to my knowledge, the only part of the Pale City with a large amount of people in them. Mono gets drawn to and enters the final TV, where this time he gets thrown out to open the door and reveals what is behind it. What's behind it is kind of the final boss of the game, named the Thin Man. The Thin Man runs through the corridor and out through the TV where Mono and Six are. Six and Mono run, but the Thin Man ends up taking Six away before they can escape. After that, Mono fights off the residents of the Pale City, which are called the Viewers, which are basically normal people, but their faces have been melted away due to the fact that they've been watching the TVs for so long. They are revealed to be so addicted to the television, they will die trying to get to them, not letting anything stop them get there. After escaping the Viewers, Mono sees Six in a TV and attempts to pull her out. However, he fails and the Thin Man enters instead. A chase scene ensues, where eventually Mono is revealed to have one final power, and fights against the Thin Man and eventually kills him. After that, Mono actually pulls a huge building towards him in the Signal Tower, which is where Mono and Six have probably been trying to get to this whole time. After traversing through the Signal Tower, eventually he finds Six. But she is not normal, she's been warped by the Signal Tower and is disfigured. Six is holding a music box, which she was holding before Mono had found her in the Hunter's shack. She seems friendly at first, but turns aggravated after Mono attempts to save her by destroying her music box and tries to kill her. However, Mono succeeds in destroying the music box and Six turns back to normal. However, something isn't right. The Signal Tower begins to crumble and a fleshy monster with eyes all over does a chase after and devour the duo. There is a thin bridge that Six makes her way across to escape, but by the time Mono is passing over, it begins to crumble. Six holds her hand out so Mono can jump to her. He makes the jump, but something isn't right. Six appears to be holding Mono for longer than normal, and I'll let you watch. After having fun with the game and laying out a manly tear at the end, what are my thoughts? Well, let's start with the sound design and music. The music, excuse my language, is fucking beautiful. Every piece of music gives the perfect amount of atmosphere that complements the visuals so well. From the frantic and exciting tune that plays when being blasted by a shotgun by the Hunter, to the peaceful music that plays when crossing a lake full of broken TVs, the music is just perfect for every moment of this wonderful game. The sound design is also great, and some of the enemies have extremely creepy sounds that will give you a shiver down your spine. Just take a listen. There isn't much to say about the other sound design, such as footsteps and other noises, apart from them sounding pretty good, very realistic and off-putting when no music plays. The next thing I want to talk about is the visuals and character design. Visuals are another thing that Tarsier Studios has just hit the nail on the head with. There were countless moments where it's an absolute awe, and my jaw was just on the floor looking at the incredible environments that Tarsier have put together. There's so much detail with the visuals that every little object has textures on it, even if they're basically impossible to see without the first person mode. All of the enemy designs are spine-chilling, from the warped faces of the viewers to the ugly face of the teacher. The visual element of this game never fails to give you the horrifying experience we've all longed for since playing that last DLC of Little Nightmares. Rip Runaway Kid, by the way. I just love how Little Nightmares makes such an interesting world that makes me want to find out and theorize every single detail. In this new installment of Little Nightmares, we play as Mono, who carries a few interesting powers and abilities that Six does not wield in the first game or the second game. Mono has the ability to fight off smaller foes, such as porcelain children and severed hands. The combat is simple, but it feels incredibly satisfying due to the weight of the weapon and the crunch of the enemies when you hit them. Another thing Mono can do, which I've touched on slightly, is his powers to enter one TV and teleport out of the closest available one. There's not much to say about this feature, apart from creating some fun and interesting puzzles. I would like to talk about one of my favourite enemies in the game, named the Mannequins. These enemies are one of my favourites due to the tremendous fear when passing them. You see, half of the mannequins in the hospital move and the other half don't. To stop the mannequins from moving, one must shine a light from a torch onto them. These two features combined together create thrilling chase scenes in which you have the balance running from your foes and pointing a flashlight at them. For the most part, gameplay is extremely similar to the original, apart from the features I just mentioned. Like usual, most encounters involve sneaking past the boss or distracting them, and eventually ends up with the boss chasing after you. I would have loved to see more interesting gameplay such as the encounter with the mannequins, however, I felt like the game wasn't boring and repetitive. This is due to how short the game is. I personally completed the game in exactly 5 hours, however it might take you longer or shorter to complete depending on how much time you take doing the puzzles and looking at the visuals. I personally don't see this as a problem because the short playthrough keeps the game always feeling fresh and new, even if the bosses are largely the same. One of the final things I want to mention is bugs. I personally had 0 bugs in the game, and I've played through the game twice. However, people have mentioned they've had 1 or 2 bugs from when playing through the game the first time, but 2 bugs in 5 hours isn't too bad. I think that's all I wanted to mention, but I just want to say this duology of games has been great, and I can't wait for Charles to make more interesting games in the future, and I can't thank them enough for capturing my imagination and making such an interesting world. Overall, I'd give this game a 9.2 for its fun gameplay, beautiful visuals, and wonderful music. It's really a must play, and you're missing out if you haven't played it already. And before this video ends, I firstly want to tell you that if you like this video, I would love it if you could like it and maybe even subscribe. This video took me hours to make, and I'd hate it to see it get like 7 views or something. Next, I want to apologise for my hiatus recently. I haven't really felt like making any videos, but now I feel like I'm back in the flow of it. My channel may steer away from Little Nightmares a bit, unless any news or content releases, or if I come up with any theories. I might make some GTA or Subnautica videos soon, but Little Nightmares should stay a staple of my channel for the months to come. Thanks for watching. Seeing people watch my videos and leave nice comments means so much to me, and I can't thank enough to the people that do that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I can't wait until I see you in my next video. Bye bye.